All right. Hopefully everybody's doing good today. We'll wait for everybody to get in here. I'm gonna retweet my old live stream before we start. All right. All right, all right, all right. Hopefully everybody is doing good today. Oh, we'll wait for everybody to sort of file in, see how everybody is doing today. Where are my listeners from? It's earlier, so I'm curious. Hello? We got people in here. Is my stream not working? Oh, there we go. Okay. Canada, Spain, North Korea, Monkagiga, Southeast Florida. Southeast Florida, bro. Just say Florida. Where are you? Down in Naples or Tampa? South Africa. What's up, Adam? Islamabad, Oregon. From Slovakia. Congratulations on your Euro victory. It was fun to watch. Mississippi, watching the stream in the gym. That's a pog right there. Hunter's basement. Yikes. Common Canada, Los Angeles, New York, Seattle. Well, everybody, thank you so much for just tuning in from all around the world. First question: why are you so good looking? I'm not. I'm ugly and bald and white. I mean, white doesn't mean I'm ugly, I guess, but all of those things combined, I'm either a cop, I'm a hole puncher, like I'll punch holes in the wall when I get really angry, or I don't know, some sort of I should be in prison. That's the looks I have. Cop, wife abuser, or I'm in prison. Or all three for all three of those things. That seems like what I should do. Yeah, I'm a fucking knock. All right, let's get into it. Let's go over to the map. We have some interesting topics to talk about today. Miami, welcome from Miami. That is southeast Florida. Oh yeah, I guess southwest would be Naples, Tampa. All right. My bad. All right. Okay, so there's actually not a lot of updates, but there are some significant things happening. So primarily the largest update, and I guess we'll just hop right into it because we don't have a whole lot else to talk about. We have a confirmed Russian movement on the Toretsk, New York salient. I'm going to go into depth about what this is looking like to me. And I'm going to try to get a little prediction in before we get too far down the road here, because this is what I talked about. Remember, if you want to look at my presentation, again, I'll pop it up. This, obviously, you can see that the Russians are advancing in this area. I said that this was going to take months to do. This was not a week's operation when I talked about this. I think it was April, early April. I drew these lines, but I had said that the Niu-York Toretsk conglomerate was going to be the next big meat grinder. You can tell that the Russians are advancing towards the Pokrovsk area, which is another one of my predictions, is that the overall goal is to reach Pokrovsk. But in the meantime, while that's happening, the Russians are going to begin to put pressure on the logistics connections between Pokrovsk and Konstantinivka, as well as apply pressure to the Chasiv Yar area, hopefully this canal area as well. Now with this update, we will talk about what happens with that. But the Russians should be able to then put pressure onto the supply lines that run into the New York Toretsk conglomerate right here. And once that happens, the Ukrainians are going to be in a much more difficult position. I imagine probably the last logistics line that's going to be open is going to be something like, let's see here. I'm just going to use this so you guys can see something like this into New York and Toretsk, because the Russians will likely push down in this region and cut off this logistics line and push up through this region and cut off this logistics line. So this will be the only route in and out of the city. Once that ends up happening, the Russians will be able to concentrate fire. Let me zoom in a little bit so you guys can see a little bit better. There we go. Sorry. All right. Zooming in, we'll actually talk about the changes that have happened. The Russians have advanced along the canal here. I believe this is a section where the canal, again, does it end here? The canal might actually end right here, or it goes this way. I'm not sure. But as you can see, this is the Sovetski Donetsk Canal, the same one that I talked about up here around Bakhmut, runs in between Bakhmut, what I would consider the Bakhmut area and the Chasiv Yar area. It basically divides it in two. That's the same canal that runs down here by Klishchivka. The Russians have now crossed that canal down here, which will make future operations in this area easier as the Russians can progress along the canal. The significance of this is I don't think it's being stated properly on a lot of channels. Most pro-Ukrainian channels are just completely ignoring it, which is not the best idea because of what it means. This area right here, the most significant part that was captured was this water treatment plant at the end of the Seversky Donetsk Canal. Again, you can see where the water might go into these pipes right here and go underground. So that's what I was wondering. Then it comes out here and it keeps going down. And is it just underground all the way? I can't tell. All right. Anyway, the Russians have captured this area. And let me remind you that this is 2014, 2015, 2016 front line right outside of Horivka. I'm sorry. And this is where the Ukrainians have established serious defensive lines since then. You can see the ground is just etched with trench networks all over the place, trench lines. It's more significant now. These satellite pictures are old, but there are trench lines everywhere. You can see anti-tank ditch right here that has now been crossed by the Russians. Don't know how old that is. Don't know what the condition of these fortifications in. I don't know. It's hard to get an actual exact idea of the tactical situation on the ground because the satellite information we have is dated and everything like that. So it's hard to get an exact reading. But the Russians have advanced through Ukrainian fortifications in this region, and what I would consider a minor breakthrough. Something sort of akin to what happened in Avdeevka when the Russians ended up getting through the pipe right here. Remember, they did that little sneaky operation where they cleaned out the pipe over a year of mud and stuff, and then got back in behind the hut right here, the hunt, whatever it's called, which was the massive Ukrainian fortification that was holding up Avdeevka. And once that broke, the entire Avdeevka salient collapsed. I don't think that's what's going on right here. I don't think this entire salient is going to collapse. Obviously, the flanks are not pushed in enough. This is hardly what you would consider a salient. It's a salient in that, in a wider sort of picture, you can see how a salient is beginning to form. But until the map honestly looks something closer to this, there won't be much of a salient in here. And you can see how you can see this happening. And I'll take us over to a topographical map so you guys can get a look at it. But this is the high ground right here. All of this whole settlement right here, besides a few of these Tetikons, these industrial hills, is in the low ground. It's in actually a pretty significant low ground. So the Russians are capturing the high ground right here. There's one last bit of elevated territory right outside of Shumi right here. Once that is captured, the Russians will control almost all of the high ground in the area and will be looking down on the settlement, which again does not bode well for the Ukrainians in this area. Let me take this away. There is also a unconfirmed Russian advance, and I don't know if it's on this edge right here, if they advanced through here, or if they advanced down on this southern edge. They said the southern side of New-York. So I don't know if that means over here, southeastern or southern. So this is very, very possibly going to change. This is just an illustration, an image, just to give you an idea of what could potentially be happening in this region. And it is claimed that the Russians entered the first houses in the south. So that is either right here or like potentially over here or up here. But I would think that this would be the east of New York, and then this would be the south. So I put it down here. We'll see if any of this pans out. But this is a huge maybe. This one is pretty much confirmed by Deep State, Syriac. All sources are also confirming this, whereas this one is not being talked about as much. It might not exist, but there is activation in this area. Okay, I'm going to take you guys over and kind of show you what I think is going to happen. Give you guys my little prediction now about how I kind of see this whole thing working out. Need to open it. Okay, can't do it like that, I guess. There we go. All right. Okay, so here's that salient we were looking at again. These are the two initial Russian attacks, these yellow lines right here. You can see how they're focused on what I talked about. I talked about this in my live stream, guys. Remember that this actually, hold on, let me see. Yeah. Okay. This is not where you want to attack, right? This is the thickest area of the fortifications. But what did I say was going to happen? I said you still have to attack in this region because you have to create a situation where the Ukrainians need to bring in reserves and pack this area full of manpower. This is another meat grinder right here. That's what this is going to turn into for the Ukrainians. It's what the Russians continue to do, and the Ukrainians continue to fall for it because they don't have a major option of preventing the PR from losing cities like this is going to be so bad, and it's going to hurt morale so bad. So the Ukrainians don't have an option. They have to feed manpower into here to try to stop the Russians. So while these advances are small, and this map changed since I made this, but I know that these advances don't look huge, but what this does is it creates another fire, just like in the Kharkov region, that the Ukrainians are going to have to come in and put out. It's going to draw manpower from other places. The Ukrainian lines in other places are going to get weaker. And at the same time, as they're bringing in forces and grinding them down with artillery and airstrikes, right, the way that they do all over the map, the Russians are going to continue doing fixing attacks in this direction, force the Ukrainians into here, and then what I would assume is going to happen is the same thing that happened in Bakhmut with Soledar and with the the high ground outside of Kleshchevka and near Ivanivsky. The same thing that happened in Avdeevka around Krasnogorovka to the north and down to the south, where the Russians made some small advances, and the Ukrainians just keep funneling guys in here while the Russians are making these advances. And then eventually the logistics situation in here becomes untenable, but the Ukrainians are already committed and they don't have a choice. So they keep feeding men into here. And then this is going to turn into another 4, 5, 6 month grind in Toretsk in New York that the Ukrainians at this point are likely not going to be able to sustain. So that's sort of what I think is going to happen. I'm in before this turns into a meat grinder. I posted that on Twitter. In before. I'm calling it right now that this is going to turn into another massive meat grinding operation. That the Ukrainians, this will be the last one. I don't think the Ukrainians have the manpower to deal with this, Kharkov, and wherever else the Russians decide to begin pressing. All right. Remember, if you guys have questions, you can ask them through Super Thanks, and I will see them. That's the easiest way you guys can get questions up in front of me when I'm doing my stream. I don't often look over at the questions, so if you're asking them and I don't see them, I'm sorry, guys. I'm doing stuff, and then I'll get over to them eventually, maybe. Yeah. Okay. Let's see here. Yeah, this is the one I want. All right. So we have a topographical map, same exact thing. I put the arrows on the same spot that you saw on the previous map. So here's the high ground around Shumi right here. This is what I was talking about. This is the high ground that the Russians are going to want to capture. Again, this is in a highly fortified area, so it is going to be difficult. You can see that the Russians are already enjoying a high ground advantage back over here. However, this is a predominantly civilian area. I don't know how many civilians are actually in this area anymore, but it is predominantly a civilian area. So I don't know if the Russians are using it for military means. I haven't seen anything from this region. We actually don't see hardly any footage from this region at all for 2.5 years. So this is probably one of the biggest unknowns to me, at least. You can see the two attacks to the south, to the New-York conglomerate, which has a road that goes all the way up to Konstantinivka, back over here, and this road, which are in the canal area, which flows into Toretsk conglomerate and then back out into Konstantinivka. So it's basically 1, 2, 3, 4 big towns that just kind of grew into each other. And then that's what Niu-York and Toretsk are now. You can see that actually, I'll do this. Can you guys still see that? Yeah. All right. I'll do this. So we'll have the Ukrainians coming in, filing in, emptying out over here and over here, trying to defend this front line. Remember, the Russian goal will be to push into the Shumi high ground, potentially from the water treatment plant over towards this, trying to capture this. This should be the primary goal. Once this is captured, the operation for Niu-York and Toretsk will begin. Once the Ukrainians begin to file in manpower to prevent Russian advances, the Russians should begin operations out over here, trying to push up and cut supply in different directions, right? So the boiler is being set up as we speak. I'm not putting a date on this. Could be weeks, could be months. But you can see how once the Russians capture this high ground, the Ukrainians are just sitting in a valley, especially in the New-York conglomerate right over here. Toretsk is a little bit better, and you can see that these are the terikons. So these are the industrial waste heaps, the really dark spots. All right. Save. All right. I have a few articles that I wanted to talk about today, but that is, actually, there's one more small map update that I have to show you. Down here, just outside of Avdeevka, the Russians have improved their position in this field. Remember, this area is probably of the utmost significance. If the Russians start making big advances north of Konstantinivka, if they start putting pressure on this supply line, then Ugledar is going to be in a very, 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 very difficult position. So again, this is where I think that the Russians have the best option for an offensive. There's also the option of just focusing solely on another meat grinder operation in New-York and Toretsk. It is possible. I don't know. This could also literally be nothing, guys. This could just be a potential opportunity that arose for the Russians to make a small advance in an area that has probably been drained of Ukrainian reserves for a very long time. This doesn't necessarily have to be some 5D chess move. It just goes exactly along with what I've kind of been predicting is going to happen. So it's not so much that it's not so much that that this is exactly what's happening. The Russians are going for New York and Toretsk. It's going to turn into a meat grinder. No, this could just be the only thing we see happen here for the next year and a half. Like it doesn't have to mean that something is necessarily happening. It just makes sense to me that's what the Russians are going to do. They're going to now activate here, and then you'll probably see this go quiet after the Ukrainians respond for a little bit, and then they'll force something up in the Kharkov region, the Sumy region, down in Zaporozhye, down in Ugledar, around Avdeevka somewhere, pull more Ukrainian reserves out. Once this becomes weak again, they might begin the operation. You can't put a time on this because you're dealing with, first off, you don't have the plans that the Russians are getting ready or have ready for this operation, whatever the operation is. And also, the tactical and strategic situation and what is necessary and what is required is constantly changing. Both sides are adding new variables to the equation all the time. This right here is the last fortress city in the Donbass right here. There is no more. Krasnohorivka, you could say, was kind of one, but they've lost all of their eastern fortifications. So that city is gone. Avdeevka was one of the big ones. It's gone. Again, Bakhmut wasn't really a fortress city, but it had been built up and was what a lot of people considered a fortress city. So no, I wouldn't necessarily, but the Ukrainians used it as a fortress. New-York and Toretsk are fortress cities. This front line has not moved. I have not moved this one day since I made this map. It has not changed at all. This is the same lines that have been here since 2013. I'm sorry, 2015, 2016, and it's not changing. This is the first update we've had in this area, and it's something to at least take note of. This is the last fortified city, like the from before the war. Some people have said like Kramatorsk is. No, guys, I'm sorry. If you go over to the topographical map, which I will take you over to right now, you can see that it is definitely not the fortress that you want to be defending. Chasiv Yar is a much better position to defend as it is on the high ground. You can see here that Kramatorsk, Slavyansk, Druzhkivka, and Konstantinivka are all in a valley. That if the Russians secure this high ground in a non-urban area, which will be harder for the Ukrainians to defend, then the Russians will be looking down on these cities. These are not cities that you want to be defending. These are the cities you want to keep as your logistics hubs for Chasiv Yar, Bakhmut, Seversk, all of that. You don't want to be fighting here because if you look behind it, there's not a lot of big cities back behind it. In fact, I'll take you over to the map because you guys probably don't read Cyrillic all that well. So take you over here. We'll zoom out. You can see Slavyansk and Kramatorsk are the two big ones here, right? And then back behind, there's almost nothing. There's no infrastructure to support the army like Kramatorsk and Slavyansk and Druzhkivka and Konstantinivka are doing for this eastern salient, right? You have 1, 2, 3, 4 different areas to spread out logistics. You have road connections to run into all of the different areas. This right here was designed to be a fortress, and it's exactly what it did. On the back end, you have what? Polvokad over here. That's not really, that's, how far is that? Yeah, like 200 kilometers. So I don't know. That's you don't have the infrastructure behind Kramatorsk, and this is the reason why they're desperately trying to hold on to the east. Again, the best deal that the Ukrainians could take right now is just vacating these areas, because once the Russians enter into this area of Donetsk and accomplish what they proposed in their peace agreement thing, which wasn't a peace agreement by Putin, basically leave the 4 oblasts and we'll immediately start a ceasefire. That was the best deal, because once the Russians get back out here, there's nothing stopping them from moving from Slavyansk and Kramatorsk into this area. There's nothing. You want to see the bigger offensive start. You want to see the movement. You want to see Russia capturing a lot of territory in a very short amount of time. Wait until the Donbass falls. And again, don't focus on Sumy and Kharkov and Chernigov and Zaporozhye and Kherson, Nikolaev, Odessa. Guys, this is pipe dreams right now. This is not what you need to be focusing on. This is a distraction. Anything up here is a distraction. Anything over here is a distraction. It doesn't make sense. All that makes sense right now is taking this. This is where the Ukrainian army is. This is where the Ukrainian fortifications are. Once this collapses, the Russians will have the freedom to move around much, much, much more easily. Here we go. I like what Putin is doing. I don't know why you put asterisks in that. Putin. I'm trying to figure out what that is doing so far. But if I were him, a bid city would up in the sky. Yeah, well, he's trying to win a war. So you're dealing with a politician who is trying to deal with a war and win a war, and not just the military aspects, the economic aspects, the geopolitical aspects. This is a multifaceted event, and it does not just revolve around Ukraine. This is a global shift that is happening right now. So while Ukraine is what a lot of us like to focus on, it's what I like to focus on. It's not particularly the single most important thing happening on the map right now. The Russian economy needs to survive. Russia needs to be in good standings with its trading partners. And if you start doing things that are very escalatory, very Israel-like in nature, say you use a tactical nuke or something, that's going to make everybody go, maybe we don't want to trade with them because it's probably not going to end good for somebody doing that. So yeah, there's that. There is the weakness side of it. I know that, but you got to remember, guys, he's trying to win. You can call, Tom Brady wasn't the strongest quarterback, but he won, right? Like that's the shitty thing is you don't have to do it the best. You don't have to be the prettiest doing it. You can do it ugly, but the goal is winning because losing is not an option, right? So that's how you guys have to think about this. A single loss does not make a failed campaign. Winning is the goal, and it's Russia versus NATO in Ukraine right now. So it's a battle that Russia has to win. All right, I'll go through and see if I see any questions. Let's see. Scott, is Kalina captured now? Do you think the Russians will try to take Piat to fully reverse all Ukrainian gains? Let me think. I'm trying to think about where this is. Kalina. Are you talking about outside of Chasiv Yar right here? Kalina? Kalinina? Is that the one you're referring to? If you see this, I don't know if you were talking to and tried to take Pikiat. I'm trying to figure out where you're talking about. Not over here. I look at this map all day. You'd think I'd know where these places are, right? Or are you talking about up in Kharkov area? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know exactly where you're talking about. If you see this, Landon Hoppa, you said yes. Chasiv Yar? Oh, in Zaporozhye. Oh, okay. So, and there's also a lot of towns that are named the exact same thing. Oh, right here. I don't know. This area is so unimportant to the map. If they want to do it for PR reasons, they can go ahead and do that. But this is unimportant. This whole area of the map, unless the Russians want to go for, apply pressure in Zaporozhye or create some sort of issue here that the Ukrainians have to put out, then maybe. But no, this area is just unimportant. Same with mostly this area right now. It's just unimportant. Not a lot happening. All right, let's see. Question. Does North Korea let Kim transfer soldiers to Ukraine like France will? Okay, this is actually a good time to talk about this. This is one of my articles, so I will take us over to the article, and we can talk about it. Let's see. So this is here is the sort of the cope. I was going to talk about some of the cope that's coming out from the Western news sources. Ukraine-Russia war live. Putin makes absurd claim that new military pact with North Korea and Kim is peaceful. So if you guys don't know, basically what's going on is Vladimir Putin has gone to North Korea on an official visit. It's the first time he has ever done that. He was in Pyongyang. They rolled out the red carpet for him. They put on a big show, very, very North Korean-esque, kind of cultish. Everybody's clapping in unison. It's cool, but it's unnerving, at least a little bit. But I mean, all shows are put on, so if they just do it different, it's not. I don't know. But North Korea is still North Korea. They went to North Korea, and the whole time, guys, I've been saying that North Korea is going to be the biggest winner of the SMO. I've been saying it from the start. They were in a position. It would be like in the 1980s if some large nation state close to, let's say, Brazil, moved away from the US dollar. This is just a hypothetical. I'm not actually making this a real thing. Moved away from the US dollar, was not concerned about sanctions, and then started trading with a place like Cuba. Like Cuba would win out so immensely in that situation, right? They were isolated by the United States. They were sanctioned to oblivion. Anybody who trades with them openly is sanctioned through secondary sanctions, just like the U.S. is trying to do with China and Russia right now. And if Brazil would have said, "Nah, we're okay. We're just going to trade with Cuba," you wouldn't have seen all those nice 1960s automobiles in Cuba in the 80s and 90s and even today, because they would have been able to trade and get stuff. Like this is why I said that North Korea is going to be such a big winner. They have been under forced isolation and heavy sanction regime for 70 years now. So I mean, how does a place prosper like that, especially a communist government oriented um, country? How are you going to have any prosperity when you can't trade with anybody? I mean, North Korea tr- was self-sufficient for basically 70 years. I mean, there was some trade with China, there was some trade with Russia, I know, but in terms of technology, in terms of everything like that, it wasn't open. And now, since Russia has been sanctioned completely and totally, North Korea is wide open. There's no risk for Russia to trade with North Korea. North Korea just re-entered the world. That they were locked away in a dungeon for 70 years, and they were trying to survive with their regimes and everything like that. And now um, North Korea is gaining missile technology from the Russians. They're going to become a legitimate problem. This is something that I don't think the West really understands. Is there's this 2000 like early 2000s esque idea of what North Korea is. It's this, I mean, it's like a little shithole country, incredibly impoverished and everything like that. But when you look closer at it, it's it is those things. I mean, it has been under U.S. sanctions for forever. I mean, it is not the best place to live, obviously, and the government control is immense. That was kind of what was needed to keep the regime alive, technically, and that's not a defense of the regime. That's just I'm just being realistic, right? That's what was happening. So you have that heavy control, you have the food security issues, you have the technology issues, you have just the economy issues that come along with massive sanctions and isolation. That is all gone. Is it going to be reversed in 2 years? No, it's going to take decades to fix the issues. But food scarcity, that is not a thing for North Korea anymore. When you talk about North Korea, it's not people starving anymore. That's gone. That whole aspect of North Korea. I mean, not that it was overly there to begin with. I mean, I'm sure there's been times when North Korea has had definite food insecurity, and people that can't go to the stores and get whatever they need off the shelves. But I also believe that propaganda has played a very heavy role in even the way I view these things, Western propaganda. So I have to be careful. But food scarcity is not going to be a thing. They have a trading partner in Russia. That's huge. And North Korea has a very large population. You know how Russia can benefit from this large North Korean population? They can invite them in to work. That is the easiest way Russia can resolve some of its demographic issues, is inviting North Korean workers in to work. And it's not as risky as inviting in potentially, Central Asian immigrants and stuff like that. This is a hugely mutually beneficial agreement for North Korea and Putin. And it's not just economic; it's also, according to Putin, now a strategic partnership. And that article that I just showed you, that was kind of the code, is that Putin says that it's a defensive partnership, just like NATO is a defensive alliance, right? It's right back at you. The Russians are gaining ammunition because the North Koreans have ammunition given to them kind of by the Soviets, and the industry also given to them kind of by the Soviets. And they're going to trade that ammunition for the things that North Korea needs. Why wouldn't they? They are a sovereign nation that is allowed to trade with whoever they please now, because the U.S. ruined it for themselves. So now South Korea is going to have to deal with a North Korea that is being armed by Russia, basically, entirely. It will be, right? Did I freeze? Oh no, somebody just said I froze. All right, if I didn't freeze, we're good. Um, welcome back, Scott. Did I go somewhere? Oh no, hope I didn't go anywhere. Okay, nothing happened for me. All right. So yeah, North Korea is now. I just think you guys need to kind of understand that North Korea is not going to be the third world communist shithole that the United States, that every American has been uh, impressed with forever. Is it going? Like I said, is it going to get better? All right, I'm back. Sorry, I unplugged my mic. I do that sometimes. I'm holding it, so I fiddle with it, and then it gets unplugged. Um, yeah, North Korea is just in a much better position. Even if you don't think North Korea is the big winner, you can disagree with me fully. Look at it in the simplest terms. North Korea has more now today than they had yesterday. They have one more trading partner at least, and Russia can order whatever North Korea needs from anywhere around the world through China, through India, whatever. They're not worried about that. Um, they just have more options than they had yesterday, which is the what North Korea needs. And North Korea, I think, will become the big winner of this, barring a conflict that happens on the Korean Peninsula or a global conflict that just ruins everything. If there's any stability after the Ukraine war, North Korea will be the biggest winner. Yeah, they do have food. I know they have food, but that doesn't mean that there isn't food insecurity, and there's food insecurity all over the place. This happens. There's food insecurity in America, right? There's people that go to bed hungry. This is not some. I'm not saying that North Korea can't grow potatoes or anything like that. I'm saying that they don't have as much food as they can possibly want, right? Like other nations in the world do, like Russia. If you need food in Russia and you have the money, you can go to any store and buy whatever you want, right? That's not how it is in North Korea, for sure. Yeah, and this yeah, North Koreans can work in Russian construction sites. They can work in agriculture. They can work everywhere, and they'll be happy to because the pay will be better. So you have the ability to ease your demographic issues, at least in the East, a little bit, and produce. One of the things that the Russian economy, it's running so hot, and it's lacking manpower to fill required roles. So that's one of the areas that they need to work on. All right, yeah. So that was that's my take on North Korea. I'm not a huge fan of North Korea. I'm not a Kim Jong Un guy. I don't know. They're just he's just another person who's just in a position, right? Another puppet in my eyes, one way or the other. But uh, this is good for North Korea. Getting out from under the thumb of the United States is what is happening right now for North Korea. And if you don't think that that's going to improve the situation in the country, I have a bridge outside Maryland to sell you. All right. Yeah, I like K-pop. I'm a South Korean stan actually. So, uh, you know, what's up? All right, I have one more article to share with you guys over here. All right. Final blow to Chinese neutrality on the Ukraine war, and this is from Politico. With the dismissal of the Swiss peace conference, I'm going to go ahead and peace conference. It was not. Russia was not invited, so not really much of a peace conference. Beijing's commitment to Russia has reached new heights. Bum, 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 bum. Who would have guessed 2 years ago when everybody was screaming, "Hey, don't do this! You're going to push Russia right into China's arms." What did we ended up doing? Exactly that. Because we don't think things through and we don't think we can lose. Um, oh my gosh. Oh, this is just about him. Okay. China's sympathy for Russia was already clear to most observers at the outset of the full scale invasion. You have to say it every time of Ukraine in February 2022. Less discussed, however, is the extent to which Beijing's support for Moscow has grown since. This will be made painfully clear in the lead up to the Swiss Peace Summit on Ukraine. Oh, this was made painfully clear on the lead up to the Swiss Peace Conference last weekend. Okay, so basically, they're mad. They're mad that their little peace conference isn't going the way they wanted to. They were supposed to have China, high-level dignitaries from India. A lot of countries just didn't end up going. The Biden didn't even go. I mean, I don't know if Biden can go at this point. He's looking so out of place. But Biden didn't go. Kamala went, which is a big slap in the face. Nothing was accomplished. Nothing happened. It was a complete joke. I think that the West is tired of Zelensky. Zelensky is not doing anything that he's supposed to be doing, and he's not managing the situation properly. I think he's a yes man, so he's still their guy. Changing him just doesn't make sense right now, but I don't think anybody in the West is really they have their mission now. This is not a Ukraine thing anymore. This is their thing. And whatever happens to the Ukrainian state, whatever the politicians are saying, it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. So China didn't end up going to the peace conference because it's not a peace conference. It doesn't achieve peace in any way. And it is true that the amount of material support that Russia is receiving from China in terms of trade is extremely high. This whole article is setting up the secondary sanctions against China. There is a sanction regime that is coming against China, guys. Get ready. We don't have a way out of this. We're already committing to it. We're already lining it up. It's coming. It will probably end up coming before the election. I imagine we'll start to see the secondary sanctions, at least on China. That'll be the groundwork for whatever future war the United States has in mind with China, whether that's economic, whatever it is. That's what we're about to see. So, in my personal opinion, and yeah, they just allowed this to happen. This is, say what you will, but this would not have happened if the U.S. would not have undergone its project in Ukraine. You would not see these two men working so close together. You would not see a Sino-Russian relationship like you haven't seen since probably ever. Probably the closest they've ever been. And the U.S. and I hear, I see people saying stuff like, "Oh, the U.S. can't sanction China, this, that, and the other." But what choice do they have? They've already sanctioned Russia. Their whole goal was regime change in Russia. That didn't happen. Russia is now going to have a huge military. It's in a war economy. It's poised. I mean, what is your options here? You can't reverse. There is no reverse gear on this, right? There's no backtracking. There's no admitting defeat. We've seen it. We've never seen it from them. They're not going to do it. What is the only option? Is create more chaos and try to capitalize off of that. And it's going to be probably Taiwan. And it's going to be the reason that the U.S. is able to levy sanctions against China. They're probably going to force something with Taiwan. I don't know what the time frame on that is, but something needs to happen. And if Trump gets into office, which it's kind of looking like he's going to now, I don't know what's going to happen. It could be very, 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 very bad for the United States in terms of our geopolitical standing, geostrategic standing, I should say. Here, I'll put this up. Their best option is to admit they were wrong, but they like to self-yeet better. Yeah, so they won't admit they're wrong. This is something they will never do. The omission that you're wrong is the end of your political career, basically. You cannot do this. You cannot be the fall guy for this. Nobody wants to be the fall guy. No European country wants to take responsibility. It's just going to continue and continue and continue until there's no option, and they're going to blame somebody for it. That's what's going to happen. Let's see. Agreed. But is it intentional? U.S. helped China become a world hub thanks to Henry Kissinger. Yeah, but that was again, it's short-sighted, right? The Chinese were nothing when Harry Kissinger went over there, right? They were nothing. They were not a threat. They were not going to be this rising dragon at the time. And what he was trying to do was pull the Chinese away from the Soviets. Do exactly what the Americans failed to do, opposite, pulling the Russians away from the Chinese, right? That's exactly what Harry Kissinger did. And that's why he was a successful foreign politician, or foreign not foreign minister, but does the same job as a foreign minister, a diplomat. I actually can't remember what position did Henry Kissinger hold. Was he? I can't remember. I'm sure one of you will put it down in the bottom so I don't mess up. All right. Yeah. So I mean, they did help them become this, but they weren't thinking that China was going to become the industrial superpower that it has become. Secretary of State. Yeah, Secretary of State. That's what I was gonna say, but I'm an idiot and I don't want to lead everybody wrong. All right. If you guys have any other topics you'd like me to cover, go ahead and ask away. I'll talk about something. But that's all of the information I have for today. It's way worse than that. Russian culture and its very existence is being blamed for every ill of Eastern Europe and now the West. Oh, what did you think that wasn't going to happen? I told you. They're going to blame. They're just going to blame Russia for everything. Russia is now the boogeyman. They have their boogeyman. They got it. Europe will never need another scary presence to tax or spend on military or do anything like that. I'm surprised we don't see more going on in Luhansk. That's half of the Donbass after all. It seems like there wouldn't be difficult to take it all. Luhansk is almost completely captured. I mean, there's some slight areas around the Kharkov border, but other than that, there's not a lot to capture there. So it'll happen eventually. I wouldn't be overly concerned about Luhansk. There's a lot of movement in Donetsk, though. Yeah, the real Kissinger was the friends we made along the way. It's true. Is a percentage deal between Trump and Putin possible? No, probably not. Guys, I'm telling you, there's not going to be any deals. There's not going to be any. I mean, the only deal that's going to come is going to be a very, very bad one for Ukraine, and that's basically unacceptable to the West. Trump doesn't change anything. It's still the lobbies, still the policymakers that are in charge. The permanent state is there. They're not going anywhere. How long did it take y'all to stop laughing at the word Donbass? I never laughed at it until you just said that. Here we go. And how many years do you think the Russian will occupy Cherso, Donbass, and Zaporozhye? I don't think it will be much more than I've said the entire time. 2026 is when I think we will see the conflict subside and things will be settled. I don't think Ukraine can fight much longer than that, just in terms of their manpower. So it could be quicker. You could see a collapse before then, but probably 2 years. I would say 2 years is probably right around the time we're looking at before we start to see this whole thing wind down. I think we're going to see a war in Lebanon. I think that's going to happen. That's going to be the next topic I cover, I'm pretty sure. Looks like the Israeli war cabinet has basically decided that they're going to go to war with Lebanon. Hezbollah just released a statement today saying that if Israel uses Cyprus air bases in Cyprus to strike southern Lebanon or strike Lebanon, then Cyprus will be a party to the war and it will be attacked by Hezbollah. I don't know what means they have to do that necessarily. I know they have missiles, but it just seems like the plans have been made. The threats are now being made to countries to not participate in the war, and we'll see how that ends up for Israel. I mean, they haven't beat Hamas, and it's been what, 8 months. Rockets are still flying out of Gaza every now and then. 10 IDF die in a day in there still. So I mean, in terms of, you know, getting the job done, they're going to be opening a second front when the first front isn't finished. They're going to have problems in Gaza. They're going to have problems in West Bank. They're going to have problems in Golan Heights from Syria. They're going to have problems in Iraq. They're going to have problems everywhere. I mean, not in Iraq, but they have operations all over the place. The U.S. is going to have issues. It's not going to be good. It's not going to be good. So that war is going to happen. We could see something with Taiwan. We could see something in Africa for sure. I think you're just going to start to see all these different hot spots, and that's what World War III is going to be. And then eventually one of the economic groups is going to crash, and that'll be the loser. Just like the Cold War. Same thing, except a little bit higher intensity and more direct. All right, guys. I think that's where I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you so much. Please, if you guys are interested, go follow me on my Telegram and Twitter. And I just opened Demonetized, or I just uploaded Demonetized number 6 on my Patreon. You can go find that there. And the first 2 episodes of Demonetized are now free on my Patreon. All you have to do is become a free member, and you can see those videos. All my content will be made free eventually. Just the people who pay on my Patreon just get it a few weeks early. So I appreciate you all. Take care. Have a great day, and I will probably see you tomorrow because I have another topic that I definitely am going to go in depth on. So I will see you guys later. Goodbye.